Okay.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let's get right into it. Who's up first for updates? It is Dasha. Baton to you.
Just really quick, read only. I just cleaned up the top. If there's anything you want to add to the top of our doc, as far as like links, anything else, I'll keep a better track of it. But as we have new team members joining the team, if everybody can take a look and say like, hey, this is kind of what we need. So everybody has links in the doc. But that's it.
I've got the next one. Tristan, who's not on a call because it's like 5 o'clock in the morning for him. He and I had a one-on-one, and we were discussing how it would be nice to have at least part-time some UX counterpart for our team. We do sometimes run into situations where we introduce some UX hurdles because we are thinking about how to introduce the simplest code that is going to be easy to maintain and sometimes not the best UX experience. One of the examples that I put on the doc is when we late last year introduced that you need to signal intent of generation by pressing enter, which I've been on a customer call and it's just like same as when I first time encountered it, I just didn't know why the generation doesn't work, and it's because you didn't press enter. There is probably multiple issues like this that a UX person would help us discover sooner.
I think that's a good point. I think UX is going to become a lot more important, especially in next quarter for us in terms of tweaking things across the board. And I think it's a fair ask to have someone that is dedicated to UX. So let me run that up the chain and see if that's something that we can get opened up. What are your thoughts, Dasha?
Yeah, same. I've been trying to find a UX team member for us for a while. I left a note that Andy Volpe is technically, when I say technically, so he would be responsible, whoever would come into our team as a UX counterpart, he would be their manager. So in the interim, he is our UX counterpart, but I haven't been able to engage with him as meaningfully, I think, as if we had a full-time UX team member. I have a call later today where I have the opportunity to raise that again. So I'll update everybody. It's been more of a grind, especially since we're not implementing pajamas, right? We're going outside of the UX patterns that are comfortable with. So I think hiring for a specific role where you have to be comfortable with multiple design systems, since we have a different one for each of our extensions. That's not necessarily a big ask, but it's a bigger ask.
Thanks, Dasha, for mentioning Andrew. I think that, like, as exactly as you say, like the key part is, and I've had several UX counterparts in a past for the extension, but it's always something that is like not their key focus. Their key focus is on something on the website, and then the extension is it's hard to like there is some learning curve, as you said, multiple design systems. So like the sooner we can get like a person who's actually responsibility it's going to be going forward. I wouldn't even think much about involving Andrew now in some intricate questions of the extension because he would have burned so much time just like getting all that context to help with one question. So it's going to be really nice to have a person for longer.
Plus
I've
one to
got
know those fronts.
Yeah, I've got the next one. That I saw a few discussions about our team not focusing solely on the Duo features, but the discussion that I linked is from some like vulnerability scanning features that historically were developed by the teams that were working on them. And now there is a discussion about us being responsible for implementing those features when I'm not sure what's your take on it, Asha? I'm just going to quickly give a context historically, because there were only a few people working on the extension, let's say like myself, and that was it, or like maybe another one or two people. We were telling everyone you can implement features, but you have to do it yourself. I guess now if we will have more engineers working on the extensions, it's going to be making more sense that we will work on those features. I don't know.
From a product perspective, and I think that's like the only lens I can really lean on, is we do want to support the shifting left of security, right? That's been a big part of GitLab probably for the last like year or so. As in like security needs to shift left, and we need to support those efforts. And I also want our team to kind of take a breath away from just AI, just because we do need to kind of focus on other things as well. So I think this is a good opportunity for us to collaborate with Alana's team to basically get the experience of collaborating with another team and supporting them as they create APIs, and we'll be the SMEs, or you'll be the SMEs in VS Code in this case. And it might look like that in the future, right? So as we move towards something like, hey, let's have secret detection, and that's going to be from the secure side, that functionality already exists, but we will be consuming that on the extension side. So I'd like for us to think through like, what does that working relationship look like? It looks a lot easier on the product side, but it's a lot more difficult. And Thomas, as fairly as your comment said, right? Like, what does the knowledge transfer even look like? What are we transferring? Like, what does it look like? Is it going to be a complete division of labor? You'll do the APIs, we'll consume the APIs. So I think it's a conversation for Maverick and the team to figure out. But from a product side, I'd like for us to start supporting more of the functionality from the platform and truly be an extension versus having this like kind of very singular focus on AI, because we do need to expand.
Just a quick question, if everyone knows what SME means. Is it, I understand that it's probably like the main person responsible or team responsible, but
Subject matter expert. I think I've seen like other ways of saying it, but yeah, so I think it's just saying like, we know our area the best, you know your area the best. How can we come together and not necessarily throw it over the fence? But I know Maverick and I have chatted about this as well, as in like, what does collaboration with other teams will actually
Yes.
look like?
Yes, and I think that especially now that we know that we will start rounding out the features, meaning, yes, AI will always be something that we focus on consuming and exposing, but there's a whole DevSecOps bit that we also need to support. I think this is the time now to begin to reach out to that team to forge some relationships to determine exactly how best to work together. So I think this is the time now, before we have lots of work in parallel to them, to start to forge relationships now. So if you could list a couple people that maybe I should begin to reach out to, please let me know. But I like to form those relationships before we need them. So let's do that now. I'd love to introduce myself, figure out how they like to work, so that when there are features that are not AI related, that relate to government, to another team, we can definitely just work with them directly and already have kind of a trust and flow built. So if you've got any names, give them to me and I'll start to have some coffee chats to initiate a relationship, if that makes sense. All right, who's up next? Looks like Dasha.
So one thing that I did want to bring up is the language server to rule them all. John's been doing great work on writing everything up. I spent some time like on the plane reading it. My partner was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I gotta catch up." But I was wondering if, so from the product side, sounds good. I fully support the effort. I'm just wondering if we kind of chatted through the ramifications of it from VS Code, JetBrains, even the work that will require to do that. I don't need immediate visibility. I just want to do like a pulse check to see like how far have we announced it, and like do we have a plan for how to tackle maybe not everything, but just like the first piece? Or do we want to start with Visual Studio? I apologize for giving you too many options to answer in that one question.
Yeah, I'll jump in here real quick. So I've had a lot of conversations, both within editor extensions and outside of. Now, I don't think there's been like a lot of formality between other like product side on any outside of the team, but other engineers have been like fully on board with the ideas. I think that the general gist, and correct me if I'm wrong in anything, would be let's get this working in Visual Studio first, rather than bring everything to JetBrains, since we're already essentially in a stable place with JetBrains. But we do want to get that going sooner than later, because we don't want to be adding additional code that is eventually going to live in the language server. What I'm working on right now is bringing chat, which is also creating the patterns for how are we going to add additional web views that should be able to be served as, depending on if we're targeting web IDE or not, may not be the right word, but serving web views to extensions. So I'm doing some spikes right now to see how we can get web IDE working with this as well. And then once that is done, we have a good pattern going forward, then we should be able to start on the real work to get chat in Visual Studio.
All right, all right. Next one, Dasha.
If it's okay, I'll say this one towards the bottom because it's a long conversation. I don't want to take up time from everything else. So would we mind if I move this to the bottom?
Sure.
Sweet.
All right. Up next is Ali. We want to bid you a official farewell. It has been short for me, but it has been a pleasure working with you, and we wish you all the best. There's a little card there. I hope you like it. And I really, really hope that you enjoy this next chapter. Startups are fun. They're amazing. You're going to learn a lot. But ultimately, we wish you all the best. And cheers to you. So cheers.
Thank you so much. Yeah, today's my last full day at GitLab. My laptop will be wiped around this time tomorrow. Just wanted to say that it's been a lot of fun working with the team, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with next. And I'll share my contact info in the team channel after this if anyone wants to stay in touch. Thanks.
Please continue to be a JetBrains user and just give us feedback. Just stay in the issues.
And like, definitely give us a peek, or send us like a bat signal when you're going public, so we can participate in the joy. All right, up next, Aaron. Okay, so I'll do this one. Actually, let's let Ali do this one. It's the last release that you're a part of, so please announce the official JetBrains release.
GitLab Duo for JetBrains 2.0 is uploaded to the marketplace as a stable release.
Hey, okay. Thank you all. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Jean-Gabriel. Thank you, Dasha. Thank you to the whole team for making sure that this is delivered. It has been delivered. So thank you all. It looks like there's some pending bits. Dasha, would you like to go through some of the pending bits?
We did have a meeting right before this just to kind of go
Okay,
over
so that's good.
some. Oh, no, yeah, but I do want to your point, I think there will be, so one big benefit for our team is that we don't have to wait a month to release, which is, by the way, it's been extremely stressful for me coming back as in like, getting a release posted. I was like, wait, I got to rebase.
Solid
Anyway,
job, though. Solid job.
That was a personal journey that I had to struggle through. But I think I don't want us to stress out over anything that we may have missed immediately. So I think like right now we're having hey, we do need to disconnect Duo Chat from the experiment beta toggle if they are still connected. We can instruct the field and then we can do a fast follow for that. That's fine. But yeah, I'll open up an issue to cover these, and Laura, we can also connect in the issue as well if that's the case.
Laura and Aaron, I think Aaron is async today, but he's typing, so that's good. Laura, any other feedback or any other things that we should be aware of in relation to the 2.0 release?
No, I think everything is all right. I added in the document that I think the behavior right now with the experiment checkbox is a bit confusing. And I'll sync with Dasha to see how we make that a bit more clear for the user. And yeah, other than that, there were some, like a customer had some issues today. We talked on Slack. I think you can see the Slack post there, but it seemed to be not related to JetBrains in the end, the issue he had. So yeah, I think the issue was, he confirmed that he saw it in VS Code as well, I think. So yeah, so far, no incidents.
Again, awesome job, team. Big win, so awesome job. Next one up is Dasha, the last.
I'll try to make this short because for coffee chat. By the way, for today, if everybody wants to join Duo Chat Lounge, that is where the Duo Chat questions will get funneled into. Maverick, I think that's the one we decided in the group, right? The Duo Chat Lounge. And we're meeting on Tuesday as to like where all the questions will be, I think.
I don't remember the name of the channel, but I'm going to say yes.
I will triple check, but I'm pretty sure that's where we decided. I'll check with Torsten as well. Hopefully they didn't decide to do something different, but Duo Chat Lounge, please join, take a look. It's a public channel, so you can take a look at all the Duo Chat issues coming in, whether it's from the platform, VS Code, or JetBrains. Boy, I know it's been done. Okay, so this is kind of a bigger conversation, and I'll start an issue with just the background and then the proposal. So one thing that we need to start thinking about, because I feel like our AI efforts kind of move from one extension to the next, especially with Duo Chat, right? So Duo Chat, JetBrains, we will do post-GA cleanup and refinement, but the next one is Visual Studio. But we are also needing to extend functionality into JetBrains, as in like we need to view issues. How can we see pipelines? There's a lot of things that we want to put into JetBrains that our users are like, I love the fact that you have it in VS Code, but where is it in JetBrains? So after talking to Vlad, and Vlad, he owns the bundled JetBrains plugin experience. His big problem from a product side is that he does not have the visibility that we do from like, okay, what is important? So he's struggling with coming up like what actually goes into the bundled JetBrains plugin, which is great from us, right? Because we get that immediate visibility within JetBrains, connect to GitLab. So one option that we were looking at is to let's just do our own thing. We did make a deal, verbal deal, as in because JetBrains has their own AI functionality that they're releasing AI Assistant, we did not want to compete. So basically Duo or GitLab Duo as it stands today is going to be our AI only functionality as it stands today. So the question is, all right, so let's say we want to view issues, right? Because today you can only view merge requests. Let's say we want to do that. Where does that work go? So one idea is, can we collaborate on a shared project and maybe do something small with them? And what does that look like? So I do want to throw it out there as in, I linked the repo or the GitHub repo for the plugin. This hasn't been really done anywhere else in GitLab. I've asked around, so this would be a first. But I do want to get a gauge of how would we want to work with them? How would this look like? Are we completely averse to it? I think it's easier on the product side for me to say, this is what we want and this is the direction we're heading, but it's much harder for all of you to actually have that collaboration and like who maintains what, who's responsible for what bugs. I would say it's a very complicated discussion to have, but I think we should have it sooner than later. Because right now, the big challenge is the fact that we'll have to, if we have something new, there'll be multi points of authentication in JetBrains that provides a very friction user experience. Oh, sorry. Yes, John.
All right, I'll go first. I definitely have questions, and most of it
Yes.
is around the desire to use the language server as a source of truth for in general. If we're contributing to their plugin, then we're not using the language server for those features. So we could be duplicating work, stuff we want to bring to other extensions. We're not going to be bringing to the JetBrains extension through the same single source of truth that we're working on. The second question would just be, is the JetBrains plugin that we have now only Duo features? In which case, should our language server might support, like we're going to publish a single language server that we target, for multiple extensions are sharing the same language server. We now have a language server that's way more capable than what is actually being consumed by the extension. So like all the features that we might put into Visual Studio or VS Code or NeoVim, now aren't going to be consumed by JetBrains. So I'm almost wondering, do we even want to bring the language server to JetBrains? Because it sounds like our only thing that we're going to really get out of this is code suggestions, which may still be a worthwhile, reason to bring stuff over.
It would
I
be
guess
code
code
suggestions
suggestions.
plus Duo Chat, right? I mean,
Yes.
from like a language server. Okay. Which I would say those are pretty big. But you have a really good point, as in like how much effort do we put into it? And yeah, Tomas.
I was just going to give a little bit of context when I was writing the original unreleased JetBrains plugin about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. We were like the story was pretty much us starting writing a plugin that was supposed to show issues and merge requests. And then we found out that the JetBrains team is looking at doing exactly the same thing. And because I've learned Kotlin from online articles month in advance, we decided that they are the better people to do it, and they did a fantastic job. From what I remember, the way how like they have everything in private repos, and they sync the community edition. They would have something like a job that scrapes the commits that don't belong to the community edition away. They rebase everything, and like the commit shard change all the time. Like you need to pretty much like hard reset every time they make a release, and that's what you are creating the merge request or pull requests in GitHub repo on. And like the collaboration seemed, they I'm not sure. We would have to define like who owns, as you said, Dasha, who owns it, and like can we get something like we have a core team members here who have developer like access to GitLab? Can we have something like that somebody would have access to JetBrains? Because otherwise we will be like the relationship's not going to be equal. If you need to push some bugs or features, like we would have to fork it if JetBrains doesn't agree. So I think that there is going to be heaps of cons and pros. We need to put them on issue, because the first thing that also came to my mind is like they won't let us include binary of language server, like 70 megabyte binary of language server into the community edition. So pros and cons on an issue, async, I guess, and then we would have to quantify somehow how much value it is that it already comes in pre-installed, and is it enough value to like duplicate some work that's otherwise could come from the language server for free, and make a decision based on that.
Yeah, very well summarized.
I did
Talking
have a
to Rod.
general, I did have a general question, and we can do this offline, Dasha, just for my own education. What are the top 3 features that are desired by the JetBrains community that are not AI related? Just for my own information, we can probably talk about this on Monday, but I'm trying to just get an understanding of other features, other features that are required. Again, just for my own education, so that I can understand exactly what we're building.
Yeah, I think it's like taking it a step before that. It's so from the JetBrains side, they're having a hard time deciding on what to build because they don't have that insight. And to your point, as in like, what are we building? And that's going to be like the viewing of actual issues so that they don't have to leave the IDE, and then pipeline actions will be the next. But I think we'll need to start really small and maybe have a POC, like do something very low friction, as in like, hey, let's show issues within wherever we decide to. I'll
And
start an
another thing
issue.
I want to
Oh,
caution us, and this has been echoed, I think, a couple of times.
yeah.
We do want to get to a place where we are reusing architecture as much as possible. And we don't necessarily want to tie our evolution and progression to one specific extension. And just thinking that through is something that I want the team to do. It seems as if JetBrains has kind of a different philosophy on how things should work with extensions. And we're moving toward using the language server a little bit more across things. We've got to start thinking about, are we hindering ourselves when we don't build something because it may not extend in JetBrains? Just thinking about that. How do we make sure that we are building as much as we can in one place and reusing it, working with the constraints of, JetBrains, but we've got to move forward and make sure that we can reuse stuff as often as possible. It's a little concerning that JetBrains is, it's concerning, but it's their choice to, lock certain things down. But I don't want that to hinder us from thinking about building across editor extensions where possible, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's a very good point.
Just an idea.
Angelo?
Yeah, just an idea. I guess this probably be more of a question for Tomas, but like for VS Code, just as a simple example, the pipeline feature, right? You can view the pipelines within the editor. How much of that can be moved to the language server? And then if we can do that, maybe they can handle everything past language server, and we just handle the business logic, API calls, all of that stuff in the language server. But again, I don't know how much of that is UI dependent and not. But yeah, I don't know.
Do I understand like correctly when you say they, you mean the JetBrains team? Because
Yeah,
that
like
would mean that they would have to bundle the language server with
the
JetBrains,
community.
and like the community edition has around, I don't know, like I want to say 400 megabytes, all like the full download of the language server has like 70 megabytes with the node packaged in it. I don't think they would let us, like, we can ask, but I'm not sure they would let us like package another binary with their IDE.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Maybe it's worth the ask to JetBrains, like, hey, can we put the language server? Because then that would make our lives simpler. Because we can just give them a contract, like, here's the language server, implement the UI. I don't know. John looks like he's about to yell.
No. I actually think I think one of the things that JetBrains is asking of us is to say, how can you all contribute either ideas or eventually code to our plugin? The best thing for us would be able to say, we have a solution that works for everything. Come contribute to us.
Makes sense.
If we can change that narrative a bit, and they and sort of help them come on board with that, then I think it's a better situation for us. Now, they may not go, we don't want to put this in a web view, and there's something that they might go, we want to do this native, directly within our UI because we want it to look and feel a certain way. And so they might have different ideas about how they want to do things, but it's still, if we can get them on board with contributing to our stuff, the better.
One thing just to caution us.
Sorry, go ahead, Dasha.
Yes.
So I know we're over time, just one quick caution. As we think through it, we don't want to give them That's gonna sound maybe not super friendly from them, but we want to be very cautious as how we approach them, which I've been in my conversations, because we do not want to give them a reason to unbundle us. It's a huge, huge benefit for us to be bundled. As their platform has grown larger, Vlad did share that they are considering unbundling it and making it a standalone plugin. And having us unbundled would be a big visibility drop. So I'm also cautious of like, hey, here's more, and like there's our plugin's gonna get bigger and it's gonna be in your platform. So it's gonna be a lot of pros and cons, but I'll start an issue, and we can kind of we can think through it as a team. Yeah. Sorry, Maverick. I know over time.
No worries, we're over time. If anyone wants to stay for a quick coffee chat to wish Ali a farewell, please do. But that's it for today. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. And we can stop recording so we can see.